Hey folks, Pastor Sean coming to you with today's daily devotion. Popped up on my feed today on my phone. It was Matthew, one of my favorite verses. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Jesus is sitting here at the Sermon on the Mount, and he begins to speak to the crowd. He begins to teach the crowd basic things that they should know. And he begins to expound on all of the things that they have a basic sense of, and he begins to reverse it. When he talks about loving your enemies, that's something they've never heard before. When he talks about going the extra mile, that's something that they don't understand. When he talks about being a person who puts God first, they don't understand that. This is all new to them. Because up until this point, they've always looked out for themselves. They hate their enemies. And when their enemies want them to do something more and force them to go the extra, they don't want to do anything. They're a very hard people at this point. They've been through slavery. They've been banished from their own home. And now they're under Roman oppression. And it's just foreign to them to think about putting God first. And I look at the world that we live in today. We live in a very self-centered world. Everybody is focused on themselves. Janet Jackson wrote a song in the late 80s, early 90s, and one of the lines in there was, "What have you done for me lately?" What have you done for me lately? That's kind of the mentality I feel sometimes of this world. But Jesus says that's not the way it's supposed to be. Jesus says if you want to receive the blessings, if you want God to pour his blessings out on you continuously, seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness. And all these things will be added unto you. The clothing that they're talking about, the food that they're talking about, the blessings they're talking about, the splendor they're talking about, the joy they're talking about, the peace they're talking about, the love they're talking about. All of these things are wrapped up into serving God before serving yourself. So, seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Look at the Word of God. Figure out where it is that you're falling short. It may be in forgiveness. We're going to talk about that in a few weeks. It may be in compassion. It may be in love. It may be in giving. It may be in servanthood. It may be in study. It may be in prayer life. It could be anywhere that you are not meeting the standard that God has set out. If that's the case, move that standard to the front and seek the kingdom of heaven first, and watch what God will do. So many times we think about number one, but number one is nothing without him. Without Jesus, we're nothing. Had it not been for his blood, we'd still be lost and undone. We'd be on our way to a devil's hell. Had it not been for his stripes that went upon his back, our healing would not be paid for. Had it not been for Jesus, we would be nothing. So put him first today and watch what God does in your life. I love you. I'm praying for you. I believe you're going to have a magnificent day, a great week. God bless you as always, is my prayer.